Hello, everybody, and welcome to YPC Media's webinar series. This is our June episode, I guess we can say, for the year. I'm Katie Fitzgerald. I'm the Director of Operations here at YPC Media. I have over 10 years in Meta experience running ads for all different types of businesses. So hopefully that gives me a little bit of credentials to talk about Meta with you today. I'm joined by Parker, one of our account managers here at YPC Media. Parker, thanks for coming on and chatting about Meta with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. Very excited to kind of go through this. I work account manager here, so I do work with clients directly, and I have a good handful of people that do have meta ad strategies and campaigns with us, and so I kind of see a little bit of the firsthand how these things perform and like a little bit of what's kind of going on there. So same as you, I hope that I can share a little bit of insight on that as well.
Yeah, so to kind of highlight what our agenda, what we're going to cover in this next half hour, we want to start off with why meta ads feel like things are dropping. We feel like there's a big negative connotation with meta ads right now. So we want to address some of those key components of why everyone feels this way. But we also want to start talking about how to run successful campaigns if you are still interested or seeing some hope at the end of the tunnel, I guess, and want to keep growing on Meta. We want to go through what you must have in place before running any paid campaigns. And then we want to talk content is going to be a huge highlight over these next 30 minutes that we're going to talk about. And then our goal today really is to have you leave with some tools, some strategies, whether you are trying to do these on your own, you work with us to do them, things that we can implement right away into your campaigns and hopefully help you grow your business. So let's dive right on in. I think last housekeeping item, I know some of you have probably joined multiple of our webinars. This is our first webinar on Zoom, but there is a chat feature at the bottom. We will have time for Q&A at the end or throughout. So please drop any questions that come up in there, and we'll have some links and things that you can scan throughout. So let's dive right in. So the first thing we want to do is address the current state of Meta. I think this goes with anything. Everyone's probably so sick about hearing about it, but costs are up, of course. This is anywhere that you look, costs are going up, but here are some facts about where Meta stands right now. You can see this chart that we pulled from one of the studies that were done on CPM. So anybody that doesn't know, CPM is cost per milli. That's a Latin term for million impressions. So we on Facebook, you purchase ads on a CPM basis on 1,000 impressions. So every 1,000 impressions you get, we're getting that price point. So when you look at this chart, that dollar amount coincides with per 1,000 impression that you're getting on your ad. So as you can see, going back to even in 2021, some of the lowest CPMs we were seeing were, as low as $8. And now we're currently up over $11, which is the highest it's ever been on Facebook and Instagram. I'm going to use Meta and Facebook coincide here, but no, I'm still talking about Meta ads. So overall, CPMs are up across all industries. We're seeing increased competition, reduced targeting accuracy, and things like that. I think the number one complaint that I hear frequently is that the algorithm changes so often, and you don't really know why things don't work. So that volatility in campaign performance typically really frustrates marketers, business owners, everyone. But trying to understand that algorithm, things just don't work, and sometimes there's no explanation, so it makes it really difficult. Audience targeting is definitely much harder going into this year, even at the end of last year with that post iOS privacy update. Meta has really limited that third-party data that we layer in on our audiences. So a lot of businesses really rely on the targeting capabilities of Facebook, and that has really tanked with this update. Being able to categorize people on their profile has been really hard. So that's definitely a big component in the pricing going up. There's also just so much content. Think about as you're scrolling your feeds, it's super saturated. It takes a lot to stand out, or my term that I've always used is that thumb stopping content. Like what gets somebody to actually stop the scroll? It's really hard to do that these days. People have really low attention spans, and then your ad falls in with all of that content that's happening. overall business owner sentiment has shifted. So a lot of SMBs are pausing ads. This is across the industry. This is not just something we're seeing at YPC Media. People are just really unsure if Meta is worth it or not. With the prices going up and the tracking capabilities, the targeting capabilities, it's not super attractive right now to run the ads here when there are so many other methods to really gain new business. So, know that if this is, you are in that boat, hopefully some of the slides we're going to go through today will have you feeling a little more positive towards Meta as we go. But I think the last thing too is that it's so user friendly now to run paid campaigns on Meta. Whether that's on Facebook, on Instagram, you can go and if you're an admin on your page, you've all seen it, you can click that boost post button. It's so easy to throw 50, $100 at these campaigns. And sometimes that does really well, but it's so quick and infrequent that there's no strategy behind it. So overall, you're not going to see that same results that you would with an overall strategy. So a lot of things that hopefully help you feel like that you're in the same boat as a lot of business owners.
Yeah, that boosting feature, I see that all the time with people. They always want to say, hey, like, what if I just go on and make a couple boosted posts? And yes, in some scenarios, like you may see a good return, and sometimes though you may get nothing at all. And I think that that infrequency there is the key point. I do like a quick example is I work with a paintless dent repair technician that kind of specializes in hail repair, so they're very reliant on some of those weather events to come through and cause a lot of damage. They can run a couple of boosted posts during that point where that damage is really present. And a lot of times it can, no matter who it hits, no matter who sees it, they're somehow affected or it's immediately relative to them. So your, return on interaction or the message back or a phone call or however your call to action is could be a lot faster. Where if they try to run that same sort of boosted post or interaction, like in an off season or like maybe sometime that's not relevant at all, it's going to be crickets. So I think
Yeah.
to understand like building a strategy and going after your community in a certain way, that's going to completely change how you look and view and actually see a return on those meta ads. So
Yeah.
they're good in some senses for sure, but I think
Yeah.
it's definitely going to be
And that
infrequent in
that
some
boost
others.
post is like everyone's probably heard the term pay to play on Meta, right?
Yeah.
Like you to even get in front of your followers on just a regular organic post, only 2 to 5% of your actual followers are going to see those organic posts. So the boost post just seems so that's the most attractive feature, right? Because you can spend $25 and get that to your followers just to have them see it. But is that, where you want to spend your money for prospecting new leads? You really have to think about the strategy. So,
Yes.
Parker, let's start diving in. What are we seeing that's still working right now on Meta?
So things we are still seeing that are successful with the ads are this UGC style creative. It's user generated content. Basically, it's just meaning that like we want to see you guys create a lot of personalized content. That's taking videos and pictures of your storefront, of your work, your service, kind of whatever it is that you're trying to get out there. You want someone to see. It should come from you. Another really great thing is kind of being able to be in front of the camera a little bit. I know it's not always everyone's favorite thing to do, but if you're speaking directly to your community and directly to your users and followers, that's a lot more of a personal touch than just seeing, something maybe a little bit more bland. Or if you use like stock content, I mean, sometimes that's great. It can fill in the gaps, but it really isn't going to capture anybody or be, anything that someone's going to be like, yes, I can relate to you, or I understand what you're doing. So that is something to continue to keep the gas on the pedal is totally with that user generated content. Keep it coming from you. That's definitely going to be the big thing. That next piece is then kind of seeing how you want that person to communicate with you. What is your return like? How you want to see a lead form, a messenger ad. Those are our two biggest ones that I think are the most successful. I know phone call is for a lot of people is like that's a big ticket one. Like, oh my gosh, if I can just get them on the phone. But we are seeing a lot of times, especially when someone's on Facebook, they're not really in the moment of wanting to make a phone call. Like if they're coming across your ad, it's going to be in a moment where they're not necessarily searching or ready for an immediate purchase, but having a quick like, hey, fill out this form if you're interested. We can get back to you in a little while or at another convenience, or just shoot me a message on Facebook. That kind of gives people a little bit more of that time flexibility get a little bit more information, but then gives you the ability to also kind of get that conversion and kind of work it a little bit more from there. So sometimes they're just not ready for a phone call at that point. So lead form and messenger, I think those are really, really big right now. Also, if you get fewer clicks is fewer clicks, less friction. That phrase right there, really good point. Make that transition process super easy for that person. Don't overcomplicate the conversion. Make it really straightforward. And if it's easier for them, easier for the user or the lead, the easier it is going to be for you. Then kind of what you want to see as well is then retargeting your warm audience. So it'll kind of come down to it in a two more pieces there that multi-step funnel kind of correlates to this, but you're going to reach different levels of users and leads in this sense. People who no idea what you are, who you are, what you're doing, very cold lead. Someone who's maybe seen your business before, maybe can recognize your logo. That's kind of an intermediate. But then someone who is seeing you over and over again, they know what you're doing, what you're offering. They see your ads multiple times. That's more of a warm lead. That's somebody that you absolutely want to continue to target. They're much more likely to convert in that sense. So being able to collect that data off of like a meta pixel off of your website, or if you're able to kind of get any more information from that user or see where do they go to, if they're going to your website, what are the things that they're looking at. That helps kind of generate how to retarget your ad, how to restructure that ad a little bit more. Maybe if you need to rephrase things a little bit more precisely. So if they know what you are, then maybe get a little bit more precise and say like, okay, this is a little bit more what we're doing. Maybe reach out for something different. But retargeting a warm lead is going to be huge. Targeting locally and even a hyper local targeting feature is going to be super important as well. This is targeting your community, your service area, really as precise as possible. This is going to be like if you want to target specific zip codes, very small distant radiuses, you're going to get probably a little bit better of a return there. Those people may know you better than someone on the other side of the city, or if you're going even bigger to the entire state, they may not be familiar with you just yet. But targeting very precisely is going to be key. An example here is definitely like for paintless dent repair techs. When they target their local area for those hailstorms, they're targeting very specific zones, and they can get an easier message return there. Or for a restaurant that targets their local community for lunch specials, so people can come in easily. Or even a real estate agent that's running ads to specific neighborhoods with listings. It can be very precise like that, and I think that's something to certainly keep in mind when doing it. If you're going super broad, you're going to get a lot of broad responses. People maybe not as interested, not as willing to do it, and also you may kind of really stretch your budget in that sense too. So hyper local targeting going to be key. That multi-step funnel kind of comes back to retargeting your warm leads. You definitely want someone who's going to not know you, see you again, so then they can get familiar with you, and then be able to see it a third time, fourth time, however many times it takes to be able to then make that conversion. As more times you can get yourself in front of that individual, the warmer that lead becomes, the higher that conversion rate then becomes on that person. So that's certainly going to be a big key. That also then kind of generates more of like they can kind of get into your website, see it again. It's easier than just a single touch for sure. Short form content. This is kind of playing off the idea that the attention span of somebody, especially in the midst of scrolling. We're all guilty of it. You're sitting around in the middle of the night, you're just kind of scrolling through your feed, and sometimes you're just not ready to watch an ad, or you want to kind of go right by it. Certainly having something that's a little bit more personable, like I said, speaking right to your audience, right to your camera. If it kind of looks just like a regular video, you can get caught into that for a couple more minutes, but you're really playing off of a quick 15-second video. I mean, really shouldn't be much more than that. Get your point across. Very precise, very concisely as well. Be clear. You really shouldn't be, a lot of extra talking, maybe like I'm doing, but it should be really, really quick. That way you can attack that attention span full on. And then the clear value driven offer. So basically what this means is that you want to just be very specific with your call to action. That's that CTA there. Be very, what do you want out of the ad? What is the thing what's your goal? How are you judging your success? Do you want that person to download a demo, or do you want them to, give you a message? Right? Go to your website. Do you want them to, fill something out there? Be very direct, very concise with that. I think that's going to be huge. That's what we've seen. Again, back to lead form, messenger ad. Those are very direct, very simple. I think that those are really where we're seeing the most success out of that call to action for sure.
Yeah, and that going back to the targeting and the different funnels that you can create, I think a lot of small business owners get frustrated with Meta because it is such a top of funnel campaign style, meaning you don't always have that direct ROI at the bottom. And when your budget's limited, it's really hard to funnel money into that, right? But we know that so many users are on Meta across their platforms and trying to understand how to set up funnels to guide them so that, yes, that investment you made at the beginning is going to guide them all the way down to the funnel, and it's going to be worth it at the end because you're going to get that conversion. So, warming them from the cold leads down to retargeting is super important. But the data piece here that I want to just make sure we call out too, I already mentioned, Facebook's kind of third-party data, right? Like their collection of data. Your data that you own as a business owner is people that have visited your websites, engaged users, people that follow you, people that have viewed your content before. That all is working really well on Meta. So if you have that ability to upload your customer list, people that have worked with you, if you've purchased leads somewhere, if you have at least an email and phone number, that can be inputted into Meta and you can target those users. So there are ways to use your own data in Meta, and we're seeing that really work over that third-party data over just Meta's data. So
Absolutely. Totally agree.
yeah. And so to kind of go into, what do you need to set up campaigns properly? I already kind of started going into it a little bit, but these are really two of the big puzzle pieces. Obviously, I'm not going to touch on, the physical setup of your business account and your page and that stuff. That's totally things that YPC can help you with that don't fit into a 30-minute webinar. So even before you get to that point, these are two pieces of the puzzle that we really want you to start and stop and look at. So the first thing to look at is the customer journey. Really lay out how you anticipate this going. So first things first is define your goal and objective. So Parker's already saying, right now what's working is messenger ads, lead forms, but maybe you have an awesome landing page where you want, certain things, or even to make a quote for somebody, you need a certain amount of information. So really defining what you need that user to do is going to help and impact everything that you set up. So you really need to be really clear on what you want them to do. The second thing is installing the pixel on your website or landing page. Even if you are not running Meta ads right now, we highly recommend that you go and install your Meta pixel on your site because it will collect data even if you are not running ads. But if you have a Facebook profile and you have a website, you should have that set up so that you can begin tracking in case you ever do want to run ads, and you'll have that first party data from your website that you'll be able to start with. A lot of the times we see customers come to us and they want to set up retargeting campaigns right away, but the pixel needs, typically we recommend over 90 days of pixel data to even run a retargeting campaign, depending on how much traffic comes to your website. So being able to get ahead of that so that hopefully in the future you're ready for it is going to be really important. But of course, you want to have it set up properly before you even get started running campaigns. And that goes for boosted posts too. You're going to want that pixel even if you're boosting posts, because if you put any sort of website button on those, you're going to want it tracked. The next thing is to really look at your landing page or the lead form. So if you are going to send them off of Facebook to a website, landing page, or if you have the lead form within Facebook, you really need to look at it and make sure it's optimized. Parker already said, the limited amount of clicks, the better. People don't want to give that much info anymore. You definitely, don't make them have to look up a bunch of data to put in, name, phone number, email address, depending on your industry, any other pre-qualifying questions so that you can know quickly if that person can work with you or not is going to be, the minimal information that you want to grab from them. You also want to make it easy. You don't want to hide that form deep down and that they have to scroll, and make sure that you're looking at it on, your desktop and your phone. Remember, almost 90% of people now are on their mobile devices. So making sure that that's optimized for mobile and the form is the first thing they're seeing, or the call button or whichever method that you want them to contact you is the first thing they see is going to be what helps you get that better conversion. And then finally, you want a clear follow-up process. So once they do what you want them to do, what's your next touch point? So if it's a call, of course, better answer your phone, right? You got to be there. If it's a text message, okay, do they get an automated response from that text message? Are you saying as a business owner, you're just going to be available 24/7? Because if someone's on in the middle of the night, like, are they going to reply? If they, are signing up to get a free coupon or some sort of discount, do they get an automated email? Does it go into your system? Really understanding what that next touch point is, because we also see this too, where you run a meta campaign, you get all these people that email in, and if you don't touch them in 72 to 5 days even, the lead goes cold again, and you have to start all the way back over. So having a clear follow-up process is going to be important. So the second component to this is the creative. So understanding, the visuals is going to be the first buckets to look at. How I like to break it up is that we have creative for cold prospects, warm prospects, and retargeting. So depending on where people are, you would speak to them differently. If they've never heard of you, you're going to start at the introductory phase. You're going to explain what you do, what problems you solve. And then when they, warm up, you're going to kind of give them that next round of information, right? Like, oh, not only do we do this, we also do that. And then for retargeting, that's going to where you want to start getting into the offers. What's going to be that last ditch effort to get them to convert? In the actual creative, we also recommend having a strong hook in the first 3 seconds. I'm obviously only talking about video here because video is king on the internet right now. So being able to communicate in that first 3 seconds, and I say 3 seconds because that's the average time that people are viewing your content across the board. So they are swiping after 3 seconds. So if you don't have some sort of hook, or your business information is not in that first 3 seconds, they're not going to remember what that ad was for. Having a clear headline, always talk about the benefits of your products and services, what problem you solve for people. Having real branded photos and videos is always better than stock. That is something that we've been looking into more with the algorithm. The algorithm knows, AI knows what is stock generated photos now rather than real video. So, I can't go on the record and say that we know that it's not favored, but, we can allude to that fact. And then the last thing is including that call to action. You need to, treat everyone like they know nothing and make sure it's very, very clear. Be really direct with what you want them to do so they know, and it will create the better customer journey for them. So this is two sides of the puzzle, I think, to really getting your campaign set up properly.
I want to
So
jump quickly on that landing page. I just want to emphasize
yeah,
that because truly it is such a benefit to that campaign. It's a way for you to be direct on that call to action. Like if you need to grab someone and take them to a page to give them a little bit more information, or that's just the process in which it's going to work. That landing page, super important, keeps people funneled in, concise, direct information, immediately gives them, your probably your form fill or whatever that extra call to action is, but so much easier than having them kind of getting lost or strayed on different pages of the website. When you're running an ad campaign, especially whether Meta or Google or anything else, super important. Keep that in mind. I would always recommend using one of those.
definitely. And so, Parker, me and you are getting really chatty here for time management. I want to go through, we put together some tools for you guys. So, Parker, if you could run through this one quickly so that we can give some tools to everyone on here today.
Absolutely. So here's just kind of a lineup of a bunch of different programs that you can use to help, generate some of your content. These are a lot of editing softwares and tools that, can take your creative that you guys are making to that next level. And it's totally okay to use AI. Use ChatGPT to get some ideas. Like if you have no idea what you're doing, it's totally fine to use it. Everybody else is. So use ChatGPT, get some good ideas, and then kind of go from there. And then Trend Talk and Analytics, another great tool. It's an app you can get on your phone. It can kind of, tell you what the trend is in the situation that you're trying to work with. So they can kind of tell you a little bit more of like, what might be the best way to go and how to make some content. So that's a cool one to use. I definitely would recommend that. Then your video editing and picture editing softwares. CapCut, super easy to use. That one's for a lot of video work. You can do a lot of easy editing with that. Canva, you can do video and picture. That one's really great to use, super simple. You can even link ChatGPT with Canva, leverage more AI in that situation. I would totally recommend that as well. And then you have InShot and Edits, two other great ones to check out. But I think those are, probably going to be some of your easiest to use, easiest accessible type of editing tools. And then using your own audio, totally agree with that. Use your own voiceovers if you can. Definitely don't use like copyrighted songs. That might get you into some iffy areas. So use these platforms will give you like music or background music you can use if you need that, but definitely keep that in mind as well. Then you definitely want to make sure you have different formatted sizes for your content. Meta especially, they have multiple different ways that these ads are shown. So your 1080 by 1080 is your typical feed. Like that's like your typical Facebook, Instagram feed, just squared out images. That is definitely going to be probably your most important. But then your 1080 and 1920 is your portrait reel feed. So like make sure you're taking content that is shot portrait that'll fit best there. You also would want to, when you're taking different shoots of video pictures, get shots both portrait and landscape. You don't want to take a portrait picture, try to take it to a landscape form. That'll never really fit right. So make sure you're thinking on that. And then your 1200 is like a lot of different uses for Facebook. They'll put it in like marketplace ads, other platforms. They'll show your ads on other websites too. So having that one available to you will kind of keep it very well rounded.
Yes. And one quick hack is the reason we have use your own audio on there. If you try to boost a post where you are using a trending audio, it will not let you do that. You have to have your own audio to boost those posts. So just keep that in mind. It's always good to use your own voice on there. So really to kind of summarize everything that we've gone over, we wanted to put together budgeting, targeting, and tracking tips. And forgive me, I'm going to try to stay on time, but we might go a minute or two over. This is being recorded and will be up on our YouTube by tomorrow. So we'll make sure we get that sent out. But the first thing I wanted to review was budgeting tips. So there are two different ways that you can do budgets with Meta. You will see a daily spend versus a lifetime budget. One is not better than the other. One just spends your money a little more, at their leisure, and one is very strict about your budget because you strictly tell them in this set amount of time you want to spend $100. If you go the daily budget route, we do recommend that you start around $10 to $30 per day, with the current average CPM being around $10. Kind of figure out how many impressions you need to look at clicks. These are things that any marketing agency will do for you as far as giving a recommendation on budget. But if you are looking at this on your own, use that as a good rule of thumb to start. And then if you are on your own, do use Meta's automated features. They have so many different ones in there right now. And sometimes, me even looking at paid ads all the time, sometimes I'm like, just let their AI do it. Sometimes I trust it more than me because, it puts it into their algorithm and allows their AI and optimization to take control. So budgeting is sometimes really hard to figure out where to start, but hopefully this gives you some touch points. As far as targeting tips, always try to set up your audiences between prospecting and retargeting. Those are typically the buckets that we look at to start. So being able to break out those two when you're getting started, there's obviously way more ways that we've talked about breaking out those campaigns, but sometimes it's good to just start with two. And then use lookalike audiences. So that's not something that we've covered yet today, but being able to create lookalikes based on your first party data. So that's your pixel, any custom lists that you updated. You'll be able to create lookalike audiences and let Facebook go and find more users like those that you have. First party data as much as possible. Something we definitely recommend, being able to upload your lists in there, check out how many it can match to Facebook profiles. Again, they need at least a name, phone number, and email address for that. And don't forget to retarget your website visitors, video watchers, even your followers. With those boosted posts, it's really easy to do those. And then as far as tracking tips, I can't say it enough. Get your Meta Pixel put on there. If you are starting to get a little more advanced with your campaigns, also use your Google Analytics. Always have a backup. We know that Meta's not perfect with their tracking. So having Google Analytics as a backup is really good. And then lay out ahead of time how you're going to determine success. So really evaluating those puzzle pieces that I've mentioned before. So With that, we wanted to go into some of our newer content helping packages that we have. So Parker, can you go through that
Yeah,
quickly?
absolutely. So we have a couple of different things we can do. We can help edit your photos, your videos, build you guys reels, build you content, give you voiceover content. We have professionals that can do that as well. So, one option there, the first option is you provide your video and we edit. That's 150 per video. And your second option there is that we can use stock and text to put together videos and reels if you guys really just don't have the time or don't have the content yet, but need something on a little bit like quicker of a basis. We can absolutely help you there as well. And then getting down into the last option is custom video on site. We have the ability to send video crews to you. We can do that. We can show up to your location anywhere in the country, and we can kind of figure out what it is exactly you need done, what do you need shot, and kind of go build off of that from there. So, we really have the skills and the ability to kind of capture any situation that you're in, large, small, medium, doesn't really matter. We also have other campaign management options as well. There's, again, it ranges small to large, totally depending on your situation and how do you want to target your area and kind of, what is your goal? What is your, we can help assess that with you. So again, that can totally range in different ad spend costs and exactly what you want to get done. But, everything that we went over today, getting Facebook pixel set up on your websites or landing pages. We can build you websites and landing pages. We can make sure that you get that data that comes off of that. Start building you those campaigns, making sure that the content that is being put out there is effective, and monitoring that from there. All of those services can be fully handled by our team. So, if this is something that you guys are feeling like, hey, I don't know if I want to or can or have the time to, we can certainly help you in that situation as well. So if you guys have any questions or if there's anything in particular about, any meta ads or anything like that, please feel free to reach out. You can reach out to me directly, or you can reach out to your direct account manager here, and we'll be happy to answer whatever questions you guys need with that.
Absolutely. And we will leave you all again with our Facebook group link. If you can join the YPC Media Insiders group on Facebook, we'll answer if there are any Q&A in there. I know we're out of time. We'll make sure that we answer any of those questions there. And that will be the first place that we post this full recording of today's webinar. So it's a great spot to get information from our team. So Parker, thanks for chatting all things Meta with me today.
Thanks
And
for having me.
we will see you all on our next webinar. Thank you.